What's up, everybody? Welcome into Awesemo's NBA strategy show for this Thursday. And holy poop emojis, because the NBA slates have just been on steroids this week. You could have 350 points and still not cash. It has been outrageous what some of these guys have been doing. We can delve into some of that with Josh Engleman. I am Adam Kaufman. What's up, man? How are you?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. A little tired, but it's the end of we're getting close to the end of the week. This is a pretty easy slate, all things considered. I'm sure I'll regret that statement as we get closer to lock.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like we've got this one. There's not too much weird stuff. I think the plays are pretty obvious today. I think we've got a light one on our hands today.
Well, I know that you're very fatigued and you've had some tough workouts. So we're glad that you're here and that you're going to power through for the next hour. We got a 7-gamer to get to. But, man, just some of the performances last night, whether it was Russ doing Russ things with 81 points on DK, of course, another triple-double. Giannis was really the only big disappointment in terms of the studs. Looked like he was going to have a really good night. Didn't even hit for 50 points. Be outright, go for 55. You had RJ Hampton off the bench, hit 40, just about anyway. Martin Jr. going for 50. You had Bagley going for 47. Let's see Mo Bamba hit for about 55 points. Just an insane evening. And it was another one. This is like 3-4 straight days where having, you can feel good about yourself with 315, 325 points. But if you're looking to go out and actually win something, you're not even sniffing it. You have needed 400 plus this week.
No, you need to hit every single bit of it. It's kind of wild right now. I'm looking at, like you mentioned, Giannis was mildly disappointing. It's incredible. Like, that's a minutes thing. 1.54 fantasy points per minute for Giannis yesterday on FanDuel. And that is and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but like, that is a disappointment for him to hit a rate that like 4 guys in the league average. And for him to have an average day, it's a bummer because that's how ridiculous it was. Whether we're talking about Russ, whether we're talking about Okongwu in 18 minutes going for 2x, Kelly Olynyk, Campazzo, Anthony Edwards, Ja Morant. I mean, there were just monster after monster after monster. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. We'll get to the chat. We see you guys. Thank you for being with us. Smash that like button here nice and early on the Awesemo YouTube page. How about we get into a little Fantasy Cruncher lineup study? What did stand out to you, obviously, examining everything that we've been talking about?
I will let you know exactly what stood out to me the moment that I actually get that pulled up in front of me.
That's fair.
Team Murderer 420 taking down the shoot around last night. Congratulations to that one. Maybe change your name. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do.
Great.
Went for 457 fantasy points yesterday. Listen to this monster. 81 from Russ, 55 from DeLon Wright, 66 from Anthony Edwards, 63 from Kelly Olynyk, 53 from Mo Bamba, just shy of 40 for RJ Hampton, 50 for KJ Martin, and 47.5 for Facundo Campazzo. Just jaw on the ground.
Too. Like I had a good lineup on DK. Again, not like go out and win all the money good. I hit for, I don't know, 350 plus, whatever it was. Many of the guys that you just mentioned, basically except for Campazzo, at one point in time during the day, I had in a dummy build, Olynyk and on and on. And it just goes to show how many options you had last night, how many guys actually hit, how many successful lineups you could build. It was just, I don't know what's going on this week. I mean, is there any sort of algorithm that can explain why these last few days are just so outrageous in terms of the scores that we've been seeing?
Yeah. Russ was 50% owned and scored 81 fantasy points. DeLon Wright was 62% owned and scored 55. Mo Bamba, 49% owned and scored 54. KJ Martin, 56% owned and scored 50. When all of the highest owned guys are going for 50 to 80 fantasy points, you're going to have to score out the wazoo to get that right. Like here are the scores of everybody that was owned more than 25% yesterday on DraftKings. That's 6 guys: Wright, Martin, Westbrook, Bamba, Giannis, and Bagley. 47, 47, 53, 81, 50, and 55. There's not even like we're talking about Giannis being a bust. And for sure, he was a bust relative to the rest of this slate yesterday. And he still had like a functional fantasy day. It's craziness. Like even Sabonis at 10,600 still went for 48. Like none of these guys saw 26 minutes in a blowout because the other guys did something. Everybody was just hanging numbers yesterday. Crazy.
Is today going to be similar?
No. Okay. Not that I can tell. We don't really have that going on. There's a couple pretty ugly games today, but we're certainly going straight back to Russ.
Yeah, well, you have to. I mean, guys put himself and not like yesterday or even recently, but just over the course of this year. I mean, everyone wants to talk about Joker and Embiid, and so I mean, Russ is right there in the MVP conversation. The only downside for him, obviously, is largely the team that he plays for that is going to take votes away from him. Let's talk about our sponsor, No House Advantage, who's taking a different spin on daily fantasy sports by offering player prop contests across, of course, NBA, MLB, NFL when that's going on, PGA, all for cash prizes, folks. This exclusively peer-to-peer fantasy sports platform levels the playing field, makes it easier for you to win real cash as compared with your traditional DFS sites. With over 500 player prop offerings, No House Advantage is the largest provider of player props in the entire industry. And the best part is new users will receive a $20 match deposit bonus today with promo code Awesemo. That is promo code Awesemo. Beat your friends, not the house, and download the app in the App Store. Win big with player props today. Again, that is No House Advantage. Just one of many things I'm going to tell you about over the course of the next almost 50 or so minutes that we're going to be with you. Again, Engleman and Kaufman, hit that like button. Appreciate you seeing, just all your reactions, everything going on in the chat. Even Nate, who says he's at work, he'll be in and out of the chat. That's okay. Minimize this. Just listen in the background. If you could pop in, chime in, that's great. Evan says, rocking the Awesemo avatar. Wish it was first, but can't complain. LMAO. With that in mind, how about a little Hall of Fame talk, Josh?
Let's do it. The Hall of Awesome potentially rebranded my pitch this morning that I don't think is going to pull the traction that I was hoping for, but I like it nonetheless.
You got to talk to the right people.
You do. That could be me, I guess, but it's not.
Here's how this works. You can see it on your screen, folks. You got to download the Awesemo profile picture. Again, the logo we've all seen a million times over. Awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins. Tweet your lineups to @Awesemo HOF. Yet another reason why Josh's hopes and desires aren't going to come through right there, because they'd have to rebrand the Twitter, be HOA. Awesemo HOF. Awesemo Hall of Fame. Win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Okay, if you finish obviously with a really, really strong lineup. In fact, just to be pretty specific with you in terms of the Awesemo Plus, if you can finish within the first few, within the first few of any GPP of 5,000 plus entries with that Awesemo avatar, then you obviously can be eligible to get in there and get that Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription and not even pay for it. Get it for a free month. So it's a pretty good gig right there. I mean, you're out there, you're using the services, Lineup Builder and Fantasy Cruncher, and obviously all the projections, ownership, or players, points, whatever it may be. You're using the tools anyway. Why not go out there, try and capitalize and save yourself some loot in the process? The people would be foolish not to, Josh.
They would be very foolish not to. Why wouldn't you not want free stuff for no effort whatsoever? Like it's just that simple. It's just an icon. You can download it at awesemo.com/avatar, grab it, and then you just have the ability to get free things. Here's things are dope.
We're trying to brand you. We just want to brand you. We don't have like the cattle prod that's on fire with saying Awesemo. So this is our way to digitally brand you. You can put this right there on your face, your avatar, and represent. I think the people want to do it. And what would make Alex happier than just seeing like his digital face everywhere in the world?
It would be awesome.
You see, it'd be Awesemo.
It would be Awesemo.
You see, Jeffrey says, just say top 3. LOL. I know. I said top few. I'm sorry. I wasn't specific enough for you. Top 3. Okay.
Woo.
Give you a different finger. It's right in between these. I'm kidding.
I'll give you a finger, Trebek.
They got to bring that back. We can't bring Trebek back. We can't bring Connery back, but we can bring back that segment. We still have Will Ferrell and Daryl Hammond. I think we need to do it at some point in time. Next time Will Ferrell hosts, because isn't Hammond the essentially the PA guy now? He's the studio announcer.
I have no idea. No clue whatsoever. And I was going to say, we don't need to bring Trebek back. We've got Aaron Rodgers now.
Oh, good God. We could spend so much time talking about that fiasco. All right. So for tonight, you already mentioned it. Go back to Russ. I think a lot of people are going to. And if he busts, he busts. But I mean, how can you doubt yourself going into this thing with the way Russ is going? I mean, he's basically been a lock for 60 plus points. Again, hit for 80 last night on DraftKings. But you got Luka, you got Curry. These guys are all priced over 10-5. You got Durant, Young, Vooch is north of 10K. You Van Vliet's kind of the next tier. Siakam, obviously his Toronto teammate. Who do you like best? You know, which 1-2 guys among the studs before we go game by game?
Yeah, so I have Russ as I don't want to like pretty much my clear cut top pay up option on DraftKings. He's higher than Curry and Luka by about 1.5 points relative to salary. So I would rank them Russ, then Curry and Luka in the same tier. And then you sort of get into like the Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Durant area. Sabonis, very, very low in comparison to all these guys. On FanDuel, though, I think I prefer Curry a little bit more than Russ. Curry just 9,900 there. Russ is 11,600. So FanDuel has no problem giving a little bit more salary to Russ. And if you're getting Curry sub 10K against Oklahoma City, that seems like a kind of no-brainer there. But not that Russ doesn't look fantastic. He's 4th overall on FanDuel for me. So I don't want to, no qualms. But Russ was the number 1 contender on DK. I don't really have much else to say on that one. Like he's clearly good every single night. I wouldn't be lock buttoning him like everybody wants to, because that's just going to lead you to not winning GPPs as much as you would like to. But, you know, you always got to pay attention to public ownership. That's for sure. But yeah, Russ is the best pay up option today.
Jeffrey says, I'm just playing, homie. Y'all do good work. I'm just kidding, Jeffrey. You know that I'm messing with you too. I don't take things too seriously around here, especially with Josh. Imagine if like Josh was Josh and I came in all like straight man, like completely serious. I mean, it would be a tough blend. The two of us
wouldn't work well.
Be like working with Aaron Berg. You know, the two of us. I'm kidding, Greg. You're not listening anyway. Anthony says, imagine waking up to 408-point lineup thinking you've won everything. Pros, hold my beer, 450 plus. Yeah, insane. It's been insane.
Yeah. Look, I don't know the best way to say this. Like, I don't ever think about that stuff like that. No, like I don't ever look at my lineup score and think like, I did well. Can't believe the scores were so high. It's like, no, then you just didn't do well. Like there's no, it's all relative. 80th percentile is 80th percentile, no matter how everything just comes out. But yeah, I've never like that. That's one I've never understood. But I've never
really heard this one. Shark KK Killa G says, squinty-eyed Don Johnson stripper announcer guy in the house. Love the show, fam.
I mean, clearly we know what you're going to have to wear in the future on this show, but
yeah, I'm squinty-eyed all the time for sure. Don Johnson stripper announcer guy in the house. I mean, really the part that makes the least sense to me is Don Johnson, I think.
But in the grand scheme of things, that's the best part of it.
Yeah, I'll take it. No, it's I mean, a lot of success there in Miami Vice.
I like the comp. I would want to be compared to Don Johnson.
I will take it. All right, folks, we're going to go game by game in a second, but real quick, want to remind you, if you are not able to watch your favorite Awesemo shows on YouTube, shame on you. Even if you don't see them live, they're all there. You can go back and watch an NBA strategy show from a month and a half ago if you wanted to. I wouldn't, but you could. It just goes to show that all these shows, even if you're not seeing it right now, go a little inception on you. You know, if you're watching a little bit later on in the day, it's not live. Don't chat at us. We're not seeing it. Do write in the comment section. We do check that. But these shows, they exist. That's the overall point. Even still, though, if you have other outlets that you prefer, almost all of the Awesemo YouTube shows are available through the Awesemo Podcast Network. We've got a podcast for every sport. We are available on every major platform. Head on over to awesemo.com/podcast. Check out the very latest. In fact, if you leave a 5-star rating or review on one of our podcasts with your Twitter handle or email address, you could be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. One winner will be awarded every single Friday. That is tomorrow. And reviews will be eligible to win for up to a year. So don't think you're just doing it the one time it goes away. Not the case. We save those. We hang on to them. We give you multiple opportunities to get that Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription. And so Keep it up. Keep with the reviews, including this show. Go crazy talking about how much you love this show and how we are just, a premier pairing. We're a platinum pairing, Josh and I.
We
and
are.
Laffy, 3-man booth. I'm not trying to take from Laffy. Laffy's awesome too. We'll 3-man it. That's okay.
Hey, by the way, I just pulled up the ownership for Westbrook yesterday.
How
Alex Baker. Well, he's 50% owned. Alex Baker, Papa Gates, Chipotle addict, all in the 30s or the 20s yesterday.
Huh.
The reason that I'm saying this is because it's not just about what you think the guy is going to score. It's about the public ownership and the relativity of other guys that you could roster and the frequency at which you expect someone to be there. To see like 1.5 of the top players in the world. Well, I guess we call it 2 if we would just want to average 2 of those guys together. I think that stands out. And like I could add more 150 maxers. Clearly some guys are going to be higher, but that is why we don't talk about these things like it's just, oh, he's the best play. We should play him in 90% of the stuff. Yeah, well, if everybody goes into this contest with the same sort of strategy, you're not going to win as frequently. And that's why you see the number 1 player, the number 2 and 3 players in the world coming in a little bit different and being heavier on different people.
Yeah, remember,
i.e.,
folks,
in this case, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I mean, you all know this out there, but it never hurts to remind. There is a difference, obviously, in your approach between GPPs and head-to-heads. Head-to-heads, who cares what the other person does? You're just trying to build your best lineup, and if they have Russ or Giannis or whomever else too, cancels out, you get them on the value plays, hopefully, or the mid-tier guys. But GPPs, you do need to consider a little bit of that differentiation if you're going out to try and surprise people and take the whole thing. Hit that like button here on the Awesemo YouTube page, of course, specifically for this video. We appreciate you. Let's get to a couple hundred before the end of the show. And why not? 20 minutes in, we'll do our DVD pull a little bit later on at the end of the show, as always. Why don't we talk about the games? We've got Chicago in Charlotte, and the Bulls narrowly favored. It's going to be a low-scoring game. At least that's the projection right now. And the Bulls side first being the road team. Obviously, Vooch is projected to be your best play in terms of overall production, but in terms of points per dollar, not the case. Only about 4.5x value projected by our own Alex. He really likes Thomas Satoransky, though, at about 20 fantasy points, but almost 6x value. How do you feel about him? How do you feel about other Bulls?
So this one's really tricky because I don't really know how this is going to affect the team with Levine back. Now, as of right now, the way that I entered everything in, I hate the entire team. I don't like anything other than a little bit of Vooch for 9K on FanDuel. But there's a caveat here. And I'm just grabbing our ownership projections now. So we were talking and they came out right at the beginning of the show. So I just want to make sure that I'm not, if anybody is like picking up a ton of ownership, I want to make sure that I know it. All right, there we go. Okay, so no, that's exactly what I was expecting. So prior to Zach LaVine going out for COVID, Kobe White wasn't starting. Thomas Satoransky was. And I don't know now that their season is sort of officially over if they're going to go back to that previous starting lineup, because the Kobe White, Zach LaVine combo was bad this year. They were very negative when both were on the floor at the same time. They were sort of playing off of each other a bit. If Kobe White leaves the starting lineup and Satoransky moves into it, 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings, I have some interest in Satoransky at that point as a pay down option. I don't have any interest in Levine today, 9,400 on FanDuel, 91 on DraftKings. He would need all 36 minutes of a normal starter run to be even viable today to me. And I would be very surprised if he's coming back and able to play the full 36. I'm not saying that he's on a minutes limit, but I just assume that his cardio is not going to be there. And if he drops from 36 to 32, which is where I have him, he's not rosterable. I am ignoring all of Chicago except for Vooch on FanDuel.
All right. How about on the other side, then? You've got LaMelo Ball right there at the top of the heap. He's been doing LaMelo things, as we know. He's 40 plus projected. He's about 5.5x value projected as well. But then, obviously you've got the Terry Roziers and the PJ Washingtons, the Jalen McDaniels of the world. But you could go down to some of the, not even mid-tier. I mean, really value guys, obviously. Caleb Martin has been very good, 6x plus projected, very similar for Brad Wanamaker. I don't know that I love Wanamaker as much, maybe more of a GPP play, but certainly Caleb Martin, he's a tough guy to fade right now. What do you think here?
Gotta love some of this Charlotte team, that's for sure. Terry Rozier, unquestionably, to me, the top play on FanDuel at 6,200. That price tag is just broken. He was in the sevens fairly recently, and other than LaMelo coming back, like nothing's changed. Other than the fact that now we don't have Graham, we still don't have Gordon Hayward, we don't have Bridges. So play all the Terry Rozier that you want to play today on FanDuel. A little bit less so on DraftKings at 7,600. I think he's appropriately priced there. LaMelo looks good on both sites, 7,500 and 7,900. He's a guy that I'd want to have like 10 to 15% of. PJ Washington, we got to pay close attention to the starting lineup. I assume that they're going to go with Biyombo for 2 or 3 rotations. They'll work Cody Zeller in as well. So I still want to get to PJ Washington, 6,600 on both sites. He's like a 15%er. Jalen McDaniels is probably a little overpriced, but still decent enough as like a 10% guy. And then Caleb Martin, 5K on FanDuel, you could probably skip that one more often than not, but 3,900 on DraftKings playing 30 minutes. He's probably like a guy you should have 20% of. Chicago's bad defensively, really bad, in fact. Not going to get any better by bringing Zach LaVine back on the floor either. So this is it's not a pace up spot that you're normally looking for against Chicago, but it is a bottom 10-ish, bottom 5-ish defense. It's a good spot for Charlotte.
Folks, just a reminder, subscribe to the Awesemo YouTube page. And of course, watch these videos, all the others that come out throughout the day. We got a whole big lineup of programming coming up later on this afternoon. We'll tell you more about that a little later on, but subscribe to the Awesemo YouTube page so that you can obviously keep up with not only all the great content available here, but DFS offers, giveaways, so much more. And once you subscribe, hit that notification button so you can be notified when all these shows go live. You see it on Twitter, everywhere else, but you want to get it on YouTube so you can get that push to your phone and say, well, what was I doing? Doesn't matter. I need to go watch and see what's happening on the NBA strategy show. These are the important things. We shift to game number 2, and it's Nets Mavs in Dallas. Should be a high scoring game anyway. And beginning on the Brooklyn side, as we know, no James Harden, but who probably was for a while in the MVP conversation, but you could forget about that with all the time missed. But Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, expect to see both them out there. I would say Durant is the better play between the two, although you never know what a motivated Kyrie looks like. And obviously having more money taken out of his wallet for being a dink to the media, he might be going out there and looking to show everybody, hey, look what I can do, and then just not talk about it post game. After that, there's nobody else really that jumps out at me that I would feel like I need to play. So it kind of feels like, again, the two studs starting with Durant. What do you think?
Yeah, I prefer some other studs. Like 10-6 Durant on FanDuel isn't my favorite thing in the world. I think that his shooting so far this season has been a little hot. So I expect that to regress at least a little bit. I just kind of prefer getting to some of the other pay up options. Russ, Luka in this game in particular, Steph, as I mentioned before. So on FanDuel, I see Kyrie and Durant as pretty close to equal. The guy that I actually like the most on FanDuel from Brooklyn is Joe Harris. 4,400, playing about 34 minutes a game. It's a small forward spot where I would just rather sort of pay down. I don't generally like the position. So he's already projected for 16% ownership, and I like it. I think that's exactly where it should be. On the DraftKings side, I think Kyrie looks a little bit better at 9,700, projected at just 9% ownership. I would be a little bit heavier than that. I'd like to get to the 15% range. This is where I think Durant looks a little bit better, where he's only 9,900. I think he's a little bit easier to get to. I don't love the spot against Dallas, but Kevin Durant kind of transcends matchup. So he's picking up a ton of ownership on DK. It makes more sense to me there. I still prefer the pay up options that exist on DraftKings before I get to Durant, but the $9,900 price tag is a lot easier to swallow than 10-6 on FanDuel.
So for Dallas, and I'm not saying this is the move because obviously we got a bunch more games and teams to talk about, but at least on DraftKings, you could look at it and say, man, I got to get as many of these Mavericks in as I possibly can tonight because of the way they're projected, at least by Alex. I mean, you got Luka, who is projected for almost 60 points, north of 5x value. You got a great play in Tim Hardaway Jr. behind him, about 5.5x. You could probably stay away from Finney-Smith, Brunson, but Richardson's in a good spot. Willie Cauley-Stein is projected to be in a great spot. He is the bare minimum at 3K, projected for almost 7x value, right around 20 fantasy points. How do you feel about the Mavs here in this side?
So Luka is my unquestioned favorite play not only just on Dallas, but in this game. 10-9 on FanDuel, 10-9 on DraftKings, like a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy. Terrible Brooklyn defense, picking up like 25% ownership. Totally agree with all of it. I don't have anything else to add there. I just like getting to Luka. Whether Porzingis is in or out, and obviously he is out, doesn't really change anything for me. So the Willie Cauley-Stein Dwight Powell piece is really complicated. Willie Cauley-Stein started the last game, and then Dwight Powell came in at halftime and started the second half, and they went on a bit of a run. I think whoever starts between Powell or Willie Cauley-Stein is pretty interesting. Powell, 4,900 on FanDuel, so you don't have to go too crazy there, but he's 3,500 on DraftKings. So if they happen to go to Powell again, I like Powell as a starter. If it's Willie Cauley-Stein at the flat minimum of 3K, I like going to Willie Cauley-Stein as well. Clearly don't play those two guys together. I think you can make a case for playing either one of them, no matter who the starter is, but I would definitely prefer the starter. I just think because Powell started the second half, it could be Powell today. This game's at 7:30. We should probably see this starting lineup before we get to lock. So keep your eyes peeled for it. But whoever's starting at center is a pretty solid play on DraftKings.
We're about halfway home here on this NBA strategy show, and stay up to date on the latest NBA DFS news. For instance, obviously some of the uncertainty in terms of who's starting, who's not. Our guy News God and many others, I mean, just tracking all of this information throughout the day so that you don't have to is really what it comes down to. You can follow the @Awesemo NBA Twitter handle, again, @Awesemo NBA, or obviously you could go directly to the source and our man News God, who's taken it from, doing a great job aggregating all the, beat reporters and everybody that's out there, the announcements from the team. His Twitter handle is @NewsGod, NEWZGOD_DFS, and giving you all that information as well, not to mention being right there in the premium Slack channel, so you can get all that information the second it becomes public. He is posting it there for you. Again, stay up to date, all the NBA DFS news @Awesemo NBA on Twitter, starting lineups, injuries, minutes, limits, so much more, whatever it is coming out over the course of the day, and @NewsGod_DFS. And make sure you catch Ship My Money's deep dive article, our guy Bearded Adam, with it's free read all throughout the season. It comes out later in the day before lock. Tons of great information, both sides of every single matchup, and there's just so much info in there that you are doing yourself a disservice by not reading this free article. So make sure you go out and do it. And News God, we see you in the chat, man. We love you. Washington, Toronto, as we keep on moving with this 7-game slate. So again, it's Russ. It's Russ time, baby. 11K on DraftKings. He's a priced up guy, but he's look, when's the last time he let you down is really what it comes down to. He doesn't get those snowflakes. He doesn't, it's all fire for Russ. Again, 81 points last night, and he's got some help around him too in terms of cheap guys. Bertans, you got Anthony Gill if you want to play guys that are at or close to the minimum in terms of value, but I don't know. Maybe it makes sense, I guess, Josh, to fit as many of those guys as you can get in so that you can pay up for the Russes and Lukas and Durants of the world. Just, go with a real stars and scrubs build.
Yeah, my optimal lineup on DraftKings was 3 10K plus guys and all sub 4K guys when I ran that earlier today on the process show. On DraftKings, just play Russ, play him a ton. His ownership is well warranted today. I don't have anything else that I could say. I do like getting to Beal, 8,900 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. They're really the only two guys that do anything. Since there's no Rui, though, I think Bertans gets opened up a little bit, 4,100, on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings. The only place that I would be a little bit lighter on Russ, and it's not even to the field. Like, we have the field at 13.5 on FanDuel. I had Russ at 15, so I'd even be slightly north of it. But point guard is loaded on FanDuel today, and you don't have the same sort of positional flexibility on DK. But Trae Young is 8,600 in a fantastic pace-up spot against the Pacers. Curry is 9,900. We've got Luka. We've got LaMelo Ball. Ja Morant still at 7K, had a monster. And then we start getting into weird value plays like TJ McConnell, Killian Hayes, Frank Jackson. Guys, we don't... the Caruso, the boss man himself, Alex Caruso, 3,900. No LeBron, no Dennis Schroeder. So there's a lot of options to go to at point guard today that makes it a little bit tougher to just focus on any individual one guy. I see Trae Young, Steph Curry, Russ, and Luka as a 4-man group that I want to just have most of my exposure in, because I think 2 of those 4 guys are going to be a real problem. And that doesn't even bring me into like LaMelo or Morant, who I think are actual really high-end plays. It just so happens that like 4 of the 6 best plays on FanDuel today are all at point guard.
I see producer Jordan in the chat. I see EMAC in the chat. I see News God in the chat. I mean, those 3 and you, that's my kind of 4-man group. It's the Awesemo Brain Trust, man, coming at you with loads of info on Russ before we get to the other side of this game in Toronto, by the way. And I don't know. Are you kind of getting tired, whether it's the Stephen A's, the talking heads, obviously, but are you getting tired of all the Russ slander out there as I am? Or are you a believer that, you know, like people writing in the chat, fantasy point God, Russell Westbrook, that he's a volume guy. And that's why the triple doubles jump off the page. It's why it seems he's so dominant, but this is just one of those guys that's never going to win anything meaningful.
I don't think you want to open up this bag with me on this show right now. This is going to ruin chat. He is a fantasy scorer and not all that great of an actual team NBA player. His inefficiency is a real problem to creating a league average offense. And that is a problem. That does not mean that he does not go out there and wreck DFS contests, because he does. But I am not a fan of Russell Westbrook in real basketball, because he really hampers his team and his style of play. And everybody is going to disagree, but that's fine. I don't mind. It bears out in the data. People just bury their heads in the sand because they like looking at the stats that are on the back of basketball cards instead of legitimate information.
Like Jordan saying, verbal meme Joker saying, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like.
Okay, Corp,
I've gone through it all.
There, Adam?
I laid it all out on the process show, piece by piece by piece. I don't know how you could disagree with it at that point in time, but people will.
From Bruce in the chat, can Adam turn up his mic? His voice is at least 30 decibels lower than Josh. Sounds like a church mouse. Well, I think the big difference is my mic is over here. Josh,
you're super loud in my ear. You sound perfect.
I mean, your mic's right in front of you too. Like, I'd have to take my mic, put it right here, go all Wilson on you from Home Improvement with the eyes. And is this better? Do we like this better? How's everybody feeling about today's slate? I'm
too busy reading bad take after bad take after bad take in chat. So,
well, damn, my mic looks really good on camera. I like how it kind of blurs the depth for me in the background too.
Yeah,
it's strong. Real strong. Yeah, I like seeing all this Westbrook stuff too. But like you said, we could be here for the entire hour and not even talk about the rest of the games. In fact, let's finish this one. So this kind of like Dallas. The Raptors have a lot of compelling plays, whether it's Van Vliet, Siakam, Lowry, all right. Presuming they're all out there, and we don't always know that with those 3, but presuming they're all out there, they're all basically 5.5x value projected plus 40 plus projected points. Fantasy points tonight. And then you have Birch around them. Stanley Johnson's right at the minimum projected for almost 6x value. How many of these Raptors would you like to get in there?
A few, I guess. I prefer Van Vliet and Siakam on FanDuel, but that's where they're getting the ownership. I prefer sort of everybody on the Toronto side on DraftKings, because I think they all look really similar relative to salary. They're all picking up ownership. You know, Siakam 20%, Van Vliet 20%, Lowry 20%. I don't have much to add there. That all looks pretty similar to me. So I don't want to have like all 3 Toronto guys, but I don't mind having 2 of the 3 of the big guns. And I think you could probably look at least a little bit at Kem Birch, 5,800 and 5,400, probably like a 10%er.
Evan says, hey guys, just saying thanks. This is a super chat, by the way, and a generous one at that. Thank you, Evan. Hey guys, just saying thanks. Finished 3rd last night in the DK 100K to 1st. Rocked the Awesemo avatar, of course. Put him in the Hall of Awesemo, as Josh says. That's what we got to do. Love that. Adrian says, Adam, you could just turn up the gain, bro. I'm really kind of tech stupid, guys. Let me see. Turn up the gain. All right. I just jacked up the gain. How's that? That a little better?
It's worse for me, but if it's better for everybody else,
is it worse
right?
for you? Is it worse for
What's
you there, Jordan?
It's just
worse
louder.
for the world? You don't like it? I'll pop it back down. I don't care. Here, I turn it back down. I want to keep everybody happy. I'm trying to do the impossible over here, Josh, which is please everyone. You can't do that.
I try to please no one. It's a lot easier.
It's like Vince Vaughn's speech about not having goals in dodgeball. Bruce says, can Awesemo spot Adam a mic? I'd rather a hat, honestly. I think I'd rather an Awesemo lid. I want to look like Laffy when I'm doing these. I want people to just show up and not know what's what. Has anyone asked Laffy how he feels about Devontae Smith being a diehard Celtics fan, by the way? Because I want to hear that take.
Is he really?
Yeah, new Eagles receiver, Devontae Smith. He was on this. It was the Takeoff podcast. I think it's part of the NBC Sports family. He was on the Takeoff podcast, and whoever the host was, he says to him, so I understand, is this right? You're a Celtics fan? And he says, yes, sir. You know, just all soft-spoken, being polite. So I mean, you got to understand, Devontae, the Philadelphia-Boston rivalry, like this is as big a rivalry as it gets in sports here for Philadelphia fans. Any chance we could get you out to a game and you know, maybe turn you around on this a little bit? And he says, well, you can get me out to a game, but I'm not going to start rooting for the Sixers.
That's fantastic.
I'll tell you, you know who didn't like it? Philly fans on Twitter. You were the chosen one. Well, that ended poorly. Guy hasn't even put on a uniform yet, and Eagles fans are starting to hate the guy. It's the best. Any Philly fans in the chat?
I hope not. Terrible people.
Let's see. What else do you guys have here in the chat? Ashish says this guy goes off topic too much. Is that me or you or both?
Both, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that feels about right. Okay, let's keep on going here. I love those Raptors tonight. I really do. Next game that we need to get into is, let's see, Memphis and Detroit. Another one that's kind of lower scoring compared to some of the others that we've been looking at. No plays really jump out at me in this one on the Memphis side of things. What about you?
Hate this game so much. So a lot of it ends on Grayson Allen and whether or not he plays, because I actually like getting to Grayson Allen at the flat minimum on FanDuel if he is in. If he's out, you got to bump up Desmond Bane a little bit. I'm not all that fond of him, but at 3,600 on DraftKings, he'll look okay. Ja Morant for 7K on FanDuel, though, is a guy that I will continue to advocate for, and I do right now. 7K is too cheap for him. 1.09 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days in a matchup against Detroit, and the Detroit Pistons stink. So play Ja Morant. Play Grayson Allen on FanDuel if he plays, and then you could pretty much take this Memphis team and leave it.
All right. Well, I don't think the Detroit side is bad, though. You know, kind of Toronto and Dallas-like, in fact, in terms of your cheaper guys, your value. There's a lot of it. So obviously not value, more of a mid-tier compared to tonight's pricing for others. You've got Isaiah Stewart, who's projected for 30-plus points, 5x value. You got about 6x value on Frank Jackson, 30 points projected by Alex. But then you can get into, you know, whether it's Saban Lee, Tyler Cook, if you wanted to roster him. I mean, these guys are like between 5 and 7x value projected, you know, all north of 20 points. How many of these guys, if any, would you like to get in there?
I hate this team so much. I'm so sick and tired of it, but there's so much you have to play here from the Pistons against Memphis. Right. Pace up spot. Sadiq Bey, 6,400 and 6,300 on FanDuel and DraftKings, respectively. I think that you probably need to have him in like 25% of your lineups. Phil's a really tough position to fill, and he's the guy whose minutes are most steady in this spot. Isaiah Stewart right now projected for 44% ownership on FanDuel and just 14 on DraftKings. I'm not as high on him because Jahlil Okafor is healthy, but I do have him in for 29 minutes. He looks like the second best play for me. I just want to be a little bit lighter than the field. I like Killian Hayes at 5K on FanDuel or 5,200 on DraftKings. I like Sekou Doumbouya on DraftKings a lot at 3,500. So does the public. He's the chalkiest guy on the Pistons at 31% ownership. I mean, the Pistons are going to be one of the teams with the most ownership on the slate today. That's not going to feel fun. Some of these guys are going to fail way more often than you would expect. But because of the value and because of the way that they're running these guys out there right now and the matchup itself, you got to go to the Pistons.
Folks, when you join the Awesemo Plus, when you get a subscription, Awesemo Plus, Platinum or otherwise, you join a community. I think you all know that by now. You see each other in the chat and certainly the premium Slacks. The tools, the projections, they're great, but you gain access to the aforementioned premium Slack channel where you can talk strategy, other topics with fellow DFS players all around the globe. You can participate in office hours with people like Josh here, with our Awesemo experts. You can stay up to date on the latest updates to projections, of course, from Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. It's a favorite feature for many of our subscribers, an added perk to the Awesemo Plus package. Make sure you are checking it out, and you can see all the options on the screen for some of the price points and things along those lines. Yeah, there are a lot of options, obviously, for Detroit. Not as many, I would think, for Atlanta going against Indiana tonight. Although what's interesting about this one, Josh, is it is the highest projected total on the slate tonight in terms of what kind of point projections we're going to get. Now, Trae Young is in a good spot, 5x value. About 50 fantasy points on DraftKings. You could look down to more of a mid-tier toward value. Danilo Gallinari, if you trust him, about 5.5x value. The in-between there, whether it's Capella, Bogdanovic, Collins, none of them really jump out necessarily. It's more kind of Trae Young or bust on the Atlanta side. Do you see it differently?
You got to play Trae Young on FanDuel at 8,600. One of the best plays of the slate. The fact that he's owned less than 20% is incredibly interesting to me. We're talking about a matchup against the second fastest team in the league without a center that makes their defense legitimately good. Now, with no Miles Turner, their defense is legitimately bad, and they play fast. So bad defense, fast pace, that is the perfect combination for Atlanta today. So I am getting to a lot of Trae Young on FanDuel. I'd like to get to a lot of him on DraftKings in particular at 9,400, where he's only 14% owned. I think Clint Capella looks fantastic. 8K on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings is a tough sell, but Capella should have a field day on Sabonis on the opposite end. It's just going to be a really nice spot for Capella. I don't mind going to John Collins, but it's not the best in the world. He's just, when they're at full strength and Collins is playing predominantly at the 4, he's just not as good. 0.96 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. But I still want to get to him at least a little bit on FanDuel because of the positionality. Bogdanovic is probably still a little overpriced. I don't think you can get there all that frequently. I don't want Herter or Gallo. I want to get a lot of Trae Young and a lot of Capella on FanDuel. Just an absolute ton.
People are still chatting along about the Russ discussion, saying it's, is Russ good or not? It's just Jordan versus LeBron in a different form, which I think is a little overstating it to me. But both fun debates.
The Jordan versus LeBron debate, they're two different questions. They're both clearly, to me, the two best basketball players that have ever lived. But we're talking about two different things. Like, LeBron's career is going to be unquestioned. He's going to play like 10,000 more minutes than Michael Jordan did. Like, we're comparing apples and oranges at that point in time. If you want to tell me that Michael Jordan's peak is higher, we can have that debate, 6 championships in 8 years. But like the longevity of LeBron James, the fact that he never had to retire twice, like it's going to be his career totals are going to be bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to obviously, some records he's already set, he's going to set that many more. He's going to play more minutes than any guy in NBA history. He's going to get there. He is going to get there. He's not that far off now. Especially if you dive into total minutes. Like, I did the math on it fairly recently, looking at what his total minutes, regular season and playoffs, and he's already, rapidly approaching Kareem. Because he's had an additional 2 full seasons worth of just playoff games.
He's played 1,100, just shy of 1,100 minutes in the playoffs. That's like 3 full additional seasons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's nuts. It's absolutely. It's too bad he's missing so much time this year with the injury, but he's guy's hanging out. He's not going anywhere until Bronny is in the league anyway. So he's not going anywhere. Jordan, like you said, the multiple retirements just kind of screwed things up for a variety of reasons. That and other things. Indiana here,
it's 2 different eras. It's 2 different discussions for me.
Oh, rules were different. You go back even before that, obviously, to some of the dominant players that played in the, in the 70s, 60s, 50s. It's a different time. But we could have fun with that discussion at some point when we actually have time to have it. For sure. Indiana, what's that?
For sure.
Indiana. So I don't know. I mean, there's no Malcolm Brogdon. Domantas Sabonis isn't in a great spot. Not to say he couldn't break the slate. He's always capable, but at least projection-wise, not in a great spot. Neither's Karis LeVert. You could look to some guys like Aaron Holiday. You could get to. I mean, he's really kind of the guy. I don't know if there's anybody on the Pacers I would want to roster tonight.
I'm happy that it's nobody that just stands out like crazy, but so much of it depends on health. We don't totally know what we've got going on for this Indiana team. It's not going to get any better for the guys that I have in right now. So Brogdon doubtful, Sumner questionable, Lamb questionable, Jakar Sampson questionable. I don't mind getting to like 10% of LeVert or McConnell, Brissett, Sabonis, probably not Brissett. I think Brissett's probably a little overpriced now. Let me refresh that. Flat minimum Aaron Holiday, or not? I guess he's not flat minimum on DraftKings. Flat minimum's $3K. $3,500 Aaron Holiday on DK is a little interesting to me as a value option, but I can't prioritize anything from Indiana here. I just think that they're kind of in a bad way. The matchup is good, and the pace of this game in general will be good, but I don't have any individual standouts. LeVert, McConnell, Sabonis, those are the three guys that I'm going to be looking at the most, but not any sort of major volume.
We got a couple games still to go here, folks, and let's go to OKC and Golden State. Of course, this Thunder team clearly rebuilding, and no real star power is going to be available to you. That being said, some of the cheaper guys might be appealing, whether it's Roby or Williams. Jerome certainly has been really good when he's had an opportunity. You got Gabriel Deck, who I will admit had never even heard of until just this second, at about 5.3 projected value here at about 19 fantasy points that Alex has him in for. How do you feel about Inspect Deck here and anybody else who's available?
So everything depends to me on whether or not Lou Dort plays, which shouldn't be a surprise. And this is mostly a FanDuel thing. Dort's just 5,300, and we know that he's going to have mid-20s usage and in a pretty quick matchup. So I like Dort quite a bit on FanDuel because of the price tag and the position. He's fine on DraftKings. I like Darius Baisley on DK a little bit more, where he's 6,200. I don't mind Baisley on FanDuel at 6,500, but I think he looks a little bit better on the DraftKings side. Maybe a little bit of Teo Maledon, but to me, those are the only three guys we're rostering from Oklahoma City. If Dort gets ruled out, maybe we get into more value at the bottom. That Deck probably a little overpriced, although 3,500 on DraftKings looks pretty good. He's not rosterable on FanDuel. Maybe Svi gets enough minutes to be viable if Dort gets ruled out, but that's the piece we need to pay most attention to, because that's going to free up 32 minutes on the wing.
People loving the Wu-Tang reference. I mean, Wu-Tang ain't nothing to mess with, guys. I mean, you got to know this, and Jordan knows. Jordan's lives by the code, man. Let's get to Golden State here. Roster everyone. I mean, that's what Alex tells you based on the projections, is roster everyone. He has everybody projected for 5x value or better, all in that 5x range. Curry at about 55 points, Draymond at almost 40, Wiggins closing in on 40, Bazemore, Toscano Anderson, Poole, Looney, you name it. Hell, Mulder, Detective Mulder here. All of these guys, great spots tonight. But who do you like best?
Curry at the top for sure. 9,900 on FanDuel, 10-6 on DraftKings, but all the bonuses for extra threes. The question is, like, how much is he out on the floor against Oklahoma City? Because they're just not going to be able to track him. Wiggins and Draymond would be my number 2 and number 3. Wiggins pretty firmly my number 2. And these guys are picking up 25% ownership too. Draymond looks good at 7,900 and 7,200, especially for the position. Kent Bazemore, given the way that he gets stocks, 5,600 and 5,500. He's a guy that I want like 12 to 15% of. I'm going to sneeze.
Do it. He's
got
okay.
it. We're good. I'm a pro, man. I'm a pro.
Okay. Wow, you even got the mute in there in time. That was pretty good.
This mic is great. You just have to like graze the top of it. It's not like an actual button. It's like it's like you just kind of tap the top of it. You don't have to
you basically wave your hand in front of it. Nope, nothing.
Perfect. Just a little bit of a bump. It's so perfect. It's so perfect.
Just a little mic bump. That's it.
Yeah. Juan Toscano Anderson, Michael Mulder, I think are fine contrarian options in GPP.
Perfect. See, you could.
But yeah, I agree. A lot of Golden State.
Think about all that. Like there was like 2 words left after the sneeze that you had to get out. It was so close.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more game. And then, of course, a little odd shopper and DVD poll before we're out of here in the next little bit. You have got, let us see. We got the Battle of LA in what is just not an interesting game and projects to be very low scoring as well. Why don't we let's do the Lakers first, the road team at the Staples Center with, no LeBron, as we know. Anthony Davis is not in a good spot, folks. Don't do it. And don't fool yourself into Andre Drummond either. You've got Kyle Kuzma. You got, like you said, the boss, Alex Caruso's in a good spot. You got Caldwell Pope you could make an argument for as well. Who do you like here for the Lakers?
I'm going to go to Anthony Davis because he's 8% owned on FanDuel and 1% owned on DraftKings. So to me, that's a contrarian GPP. Then. Yeah, it's a contrarian GPP option for, a top 10. So people don't freak out NBA player. Kuzma, 5,500 on FanDuel and on DK. I really like him a lot on FanDuel just because of that price tag. He's not getting up all that much love. So at 10% ownership, I'd like to go to 20. Maybe a little Talen Horton-Tucker at 4K and 4,200, but this is a terrible game for fantasy. Defensive oriented, slow. There's not a lot of appeal to me for anything in this game. The Clippers are the second slowest team in the league. The Lakers are middle of the pack, but they are a bit slower right now, given who's out. So AD and Kuzma would be the two guys I like the most on FanDuel. And on DraftKings, I don't think that anybody should be more than 10% owned.
We got about 500 people watching here, and we're at, as I look at it, about 125 likes. How am I supposed to face my children later today, guys? Let's smash that like button. Let's get to 150, maybe 200 by the end of this show. Let's be as aggressive with the like button. Well, actually be a little more aggressive with the like button as Josh is with his mic, because he doesn't actually hit the mic. He gives a little tap, but but do some damage to that like button. Turn that thing blue. We want to make it count. Make it know you're there. Know you're there. That's what it's all about. Hit that like. And maybe 200 by the end of the show. One big push all together. We will reunite, especially in celebration of not wanting to play any Clippers tonight, because this game stinks.
It's not great. On DraftKings, the highest odds of being in the optimal I have are 5.8% for Kawhi. That's exactly what he's owned. So I would say largely ignore anything from the Clippers. On FanDuel, it changes a little bit just because of position. So I think Zubac at 4,300 can be played in like 10 to 15% of your lineups. I think Kawhi and Paul George, because of having to roster two guys at shooting guard and small forward, opens, or small forward power, for whatever the hell they are. I think they open up a little bit, but they're 10%ers. Again, they're going up against the number 2 defense in the league. AD being back isn't going to help matters at all. It's just a crappy game. It was a 212 total when I had it earlier today. That was the lowest on the slate. Slow, not a lot of fantasy points, not a lot of interest.
All right, let us tell you, and you have any questions about the slate, the 7 games that we just covered, by all means, throw them into the chat before we do get out of here. But Odd Shopper, one of the best edges in sports betting, folks. It's to obviously find the best line available. Betting lines, they can change by the minute, can vary greatly depending on which book you are using. You all know that. So that's why it's important to go to Awesemo's Odd Shopper. Find the very best line available on the game or player prop that you are betting on to give you the edge to help you beat the house. So head on over to oddshopper.com, or rather oddshopper.awesemo.com. Pardon me. We compile the best bets available for every game, player props, player, team futures, everything. It's all updated in real time. You want to make sure you check it out. As I see the support in the chat, everybody talking about hitting that like button. It's beautiful. Please keep doing it. Alan has just been coming at Boston all show. I don't get it, Alan. What did Boston do to you? Every like is a vote for EMAC 2024. Patrick says hit the like button. Bruce still wants me to get a new microphone, so we're going to have to obviously contact the I'm going to reach out to Alex Caruso himself and see if I can get myself a new microphone. Tony says, thanks, Josh and Koff. Good dudes. Have a good morning. All don't leave yet. We're going to do the DVD poll, Tony. That's coming up in just a second. Jordan, not our producer Jordan, but Jordan Burkhardt says DVD prediction: Hoobastank concert from 2008. Yeah, you haven't even gotten into the music section of the shelf. That's true. That could happen. That does exist. You just need to find your way over to like Tenacious D.
Does Hoobastank from 2008 exist?
Well, that I don't know, but there are music, concert DVDs that are on the shelf. Definitely not a Hoopastank one, but that not because I wouldn't support it. I just don't own it. Man, you guys in the chat, keep it up. Rock Latex says there's no way this radio voice is Adams 24/7. I mean, I've talked to you guys off camera before.
Yes,
this is what I sound like.
The Don Johnson's stripper voice,
the stripper club announcer voice with the weed eyes, basically, is what everybody says. That's what it's come down to around here. All right, so we have got for odds tonight. I know you don't love point spread or money line. How about total? Let's do total. So some of these games, they're all very close. Hawks and Pacers. Let's call it 240. Let's split the difference between the over and the under that are listed on the books. Call it 240. What do you think?
I would lean to the under, actually. Well, I think the Hawks will be fine. I think the Pacers could have a little bit of a struggle. Clint Capella is really good and really solidifies their defense. So if I were taking anything there, I would lean a little bit to the under. Brogdon's status is important there too.
Now, what about that terrible game we were just talking about, the Battle of LA? So 210.5. Would you dare go under that?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I mean, I think that's a pretty efficient line. I don't really have much of a lean. There's just so little shot creation for the Lakers with no Schroeder and no LeBron James. Like they literally just don't have it otherwise. So I'm gonna. That's a stay away to me.
Ben says Adam reads almost every dumb comment in the chat. You know, it's just killing Josh. Does it kill you? The dumb comments?
No, it's 10:58. I got to be here one way or the other. You could read them the entire time, man. I get paid for this.
I'm paid just.
I think about what I used to get paid for to be my job. If you reading the YouTube comments is the worst thing that I've got going on, I'm having a great life, and I am.
There you go. What about, let's see, who jumps at work? Let's look at some guys. You love Luka tonight, but do you love him at 30.5 actual points?
I have him at 30.3.
So no.
I love him exactly at 30.5, basically.
Ever so slight under maybe, or is that just a line you stay away from then?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it.
Kevin Durant, 29.5.
I would be under that, but I have been under projecting Kevin Durant for a week or two. So I would take the under again as well.
You were shouting out Trae Young before, 24.5. What do you think?
Yeah. Where is he? 20 what and a half?
24.5. I
have 28, so well over.
Wow. That's a comfortable bet by you.
Yeah, I love Trae Young in this spot today.
Okay. I love that. Pay attention, folks. What about Kawhi in that Battle of LA? 22.5.
I actually have the over, 24.7, actually. Okay. So give me the over on Kawhi.
AD, who you said you do like tonight, at least in terms of some GPP differentiation, 22.5. I
have the over, 23.7.
Steph Curry, big number, 35.5.
Not big enough, 37.3 for me.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, any questions the people have, get them in. In the meantime, DVD pull. Did that mess up the mic, Bruce? All right. So you've got, you go over here, you go over there.
All right.
You go to the NBA Jam arcade machine. You can do a lot of different things. What do you want to do? Thank you. Thank you all for being here. What's that?
Trying to get a feel for where I want to go. I think I have an idea of what's going on down in this right-hand corner, but
wait. You could go lower.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that like the Taco Bell dog or something?
Sure.
Above the license plate?
Little
okay. So the shelf to the right, and let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go like 9 in.
This shelf.
Yeah. Is that like a Friends DVD?
That's down here.
Oh, fair enough. No, but the 9th one in from the left. You're on the right shelf, though.
Okay, 9th one in from the left. Just feel like my posture is making me look fat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it's a good one. Well, it could be better, but it's okay. Saturday Night Live, The Best of Will Ferrell, Volume 2. The reason I say could be better is because volume 1 is much stronger. But volume
yes, it
2,
is.
But it's not bad. It's not bad.
No, I have no complaints with what you just pulled out of there. That's one of the better pulls we've had.
You got some of the great characters right here. You know, a little Janet Reno action. You got the guy in the hot tub.
That is the best. I think that might be the best pull we've had.
The Actors Studios. Yes, this is some good stuff we got going on right here.
I love it. That was a great pull. I'm proud of that one.
What's your favorite? I mean, and again, it's amazing how we managed to do this. This happened last week with the Ladybugs, Jonathan Brandis thing and Sidekicks, which, by the way, I still haven't watched again yet, but I did watch the trailer, sent it to you guys. You should have. But we do find a way to kind of come unintentionally full circle, don't we? And we were just talking about Will Ferrell's Alex Trebek earlier on this show. And then boom, SNL DVD pull. You know what? There is a God. There is. And
There's not.
Pays attention to the NBA strategy show.
We're all living in my simulation. So if you think that there's a God, I'm here to let you know that it is me. I am your God, everyone. Understand what I'm saying.
That is the scariest thought. I think
I'd be a great God. You guys should just be happy you're still here.
It's a great point. I would be afraid to ask you for like projections on people's timelines. You know, it like, how long is Josh going to let us be around? How long does Ehrenberg have?
Look, I'll let you know this much. You think that I would ransack this planet? Talk to Dr. Ben Raza about what he would want to do, because he's crazier than me.
I love Raza. Absolutely love him. Okay, so here's what you've got, you guys in the chat. Just too good. Here's what we got going on over the course of the rest of your Awesemo programming day, folks, if you don't know already. And let me remind you, right now, you have the MLB strategy show, I believe, on an alternate stream on the YouTube page, so you can check that out. You have MLB Live Before Lock coming up at noon for some of the earlier action. NHL Strategy Show at 2 o'clock. That's Eastern Time, of course. The tip-off as you get back to Hoops at 4. NBA Deeper Dive at 5. NBA Live Before Lock at 6. So much NBA content coming your way a little bit later on. And then at 8, just for giggles, MMA Strategy Show. So, again, a lot happening, a lot of good stuff. I've punched my clock for my one show a week, and now I wait a week and be reunited with Josh. I feel like I need to reinvest in more DVDs, more random DVDs too, just to really.
Got to go hit up the bulk bin at Big Lots, man. We'll be all over this bad boy.
Bargain bin at Walmart, baby. Here I come. Vaccinated, why not do a little shopping? All right, thanks everyone for hanging out here with us. Thanks, of course, to producer Jordan. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to El Negro Loco, our guy News God, and EMAC in the chat, and everybody else. All of you for being here with us. Go back, relive, watch. We got a super chat on our way out the door. What's it say? Let me check. Hang on. Took down the 5K NHA tournament last night. Thanks to y'all's show and projections. Had that beautiful Awesemo profile pick as well. What better way to leave than on success? Congrats, thank you, and something witty about Will Ferrell. We'll see you later.
I'll take famous titties for 400. That's titles.
Swords.
Yeah.
That's not what you